Good morning, all. I hope you guys can you able to hear me?
Yes. Hi guys, I'm Shiva here. Kindly unmute all yourself. Once say hi, everyone. Dinesh, Rana, Kalyani.
Good morning, this is Ashim.
Okay, good morning, sir. Dinesh, can you unmute and say hi? Dinesh, unmute.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Dev. Okay. 1 second. Kalyani, can you unmute?
Hello, hi.
Ranveer, right? Okay. Kalyani, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Subject ready, can you hear us? Okay, Shiva sir, you can take the manual their introduction. Other people also joining. Hi guys, can we introduce yourself to the trainer? The trainer name is Shiva.
Hi, good morning, guys. Shiva here. So, before starting the session, let me give a quick intro about myself. So, I work as a DevOps and a cross-platform engineer in one of the leading startups in Bangalore. So, I have almost like 4 years of experience in this field. So, I work on various cloud platforms except Google GCP. I worked on all the cloud platforms, including the major ones like Amazon Web Services, like AWS, Microsoft Azure, even DigitalOcean, Amazon Lightsail, Oracle Cloud also. So I work as a DevOps and a cross-platform cloud engineer. At the beginning of my career, I worked as an Android application developer. Now I'm working in DevOps from past 3+ years. So before starting the session, I want to know what all what you guys do. Like, are you working or are you looking for opportunity now? Or do you guys have any IT experience? If you have IT experience, can you give a quick intro on what domains you are working and what made you guys to look for an opportunity in DevOps? Can you guys give a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, hope I am audible. This is Ashim Chatterjee, and I have been into IT over 24 years, into project management now.
Okay.
And done some DevOps project in terms of automation implementation, but want to know more about this. Not from operation side, but it's good to know, but I'm more from PM perspective.
Okay. Nice. So, what about others? Can you give a quick intro?
Can you mute yourself?
Can I mute?
Kalyani, are you there?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, you can.
Whenever you are not talking, kindly mute yourself. First, you can introduce yourself, and after that, you can mute. Okay?
Okay.
Kindly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, sir. This is Kalyani. Actually, I'm a junior software engineer. I'm working in 1 year 6 months experience.
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
working on Java,
Okay.
both
Nice.
testing and developing. So
Okay.
I want to improve my skills with DevOps.
Okay. Nice, Kalyani.
Yes, sir.
So, what about other guys? So if you guys can finish off it in next couple of minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes, we can proceed with the introduction to like DevOps, and I will go through the syllabus and why DevOps and what are the things that are required as a DevOps engineer.
Dinesh, kindly introduce yourself. Dinesh, Vinadulu, kindly unmute and introduce.
Okay, that's fine then.
You can start the session.
Okay, I will start the session. So
Okay.
before going to the course, I will tell you what is DevOps first. Okay, so you guys are here. So for a DevOps, right? So before going to anything, first you need to know what is the core idea behind it. So earlier, so before DevOps, actually, since I came across many people who are working in industry, hope you might be having an idea, but we'll go from the scratch. So before, in till today, most of the companies they are not into DevOps. Actually, DevOps it's not a technology, to be frank. It's a culture which the IT have implemented or practicing to increase their productivity. So you can see here in this slide, there is a two teams. Actually, DevOps comes from two words like development and operation. But the development guys, mainly the we can say not only the developers, we can consider testers also. uh, they used to develop a code like since it's a project, there will be a number of developers. They will be working on the project. So they used to develop the code and they used to uh, run it on their machine. So the issue used to come when it used to go for a deployment. What the operations guys used to say, the code is not working in my system. The developer used to say it's working in my system. So what is the problem then? Is it the problem with the code or the problem with the environment? So because of this, what used to happen, there used to be a lot of delay in the product deliverable. If the work even it's finished in a week, so when the code used to move from developers to the operations team, they used to say it's not working. So it used to drag a lot, because of which the productivity reduces. So what happened? There comes a actually it's then it's not a problem with the code. It's the problem with the not the it's just an environment change which is making the delay in the project. So what happened? The culture need to be changed, right? So there comes the concept of the DevOps. Like there should be one person who will be looking after these things. So he is a DevOps engineer. So till today also, most of the companies have not implemented this culture. So it's like working together. The concept is simple. Work together, make the life easier, make the productivity more. But as I said, it's not the technology, just a cultural change. Then we can do it in like in a present company, present organization itself, right? Yeah, that is true. But to increase the productivity, it's not just the culture that is uh, it's not just the culture that makes it possible. Even there should be some set of tools, right? Like, okay, if there will be, like, if they work together, they can do. But what if the complete process has to be fastened? So that times there comes a picture of CI and CD. What is CI and CD? CI means continuous integration. CD means continuous deployment. So if the developers are developing, so if every release takes a time, so what happens that time? The productivity won't increase as such because the releases should happen frequently, right? So if example, in my organization where in my company where I am working, uh, before I was joining, because I started in this organization that I was from this, like earlier I was working in some other company where it was completely automated. When I joined this company, it was like not automated. Even though it was a startup, it was booming like anything. Now in travel section, it's a topmost company, which is uh, doing the tremendous job. But the thing was like when I joined this company, because there was nothing as such with respect to DevOps. So the releases, what used to happen, they used to take a lot of time because our productions have almost 10 plus servers, production servers, apart from the test servers, maintenance servers, those things, only production servers. So there were 10 plus servers. So the changes has to be represented in each server, right? The changes should happen in each and every server because of which the releases, because of there is no like automation, there we have to do things manually. Usually releases used to happen every Saturday, that too after 10 o'clock. So that because there used to be less bookings during that time, and even uh, the traffic was low. So for that purpose, they wanted to make that process to be fast and right because it's they were releasing like many features, but the thing was like they couldn't able to release on a expected day because of this. So initially we started that. So the process was like we even though the things are ready, we couldn't able to do because the process which they were following, like which we were following, is not into the CI/CD. So even though we implemented the DevOps culture, but we were not following the CI/CD. So to do that, there are certain set of tools. So this is the picture that represents what used to happen earlier. So this is a inefficiency because of the outperformance, like what I said, because of the lack of coordination. So that used to happen. So this is the benefits of the DevOps, like performance increase and all. So this is exactly the life cycle or the architecture, how it follows. So as I said, uh, there should be a CI and CD, like continuous integration and continuous deployment. You can see in this picture. So this is a developer code. Actually, for a developer, he has to store the code somewhere, right? So there comes the concept of source control. Means like you can say version controlling also or source controlling. So this is the first tool that we will be learning in a DevOps course. That is source control. There are a number of source control tools as of now in the market, but the most prominent one is Git and the Bitbucket. Bitbucket, it will be used by most of the MNCs. So, but or Git is used by most of the companies, like even the startups also, even the MNCs also. Bitbucket is a kind of paid one. So even Git is paid for private repos and all, but for normal usage, it's a open source. We will be using a Git as a version controlling tool or the source control tool. And for a continuous build and continuous integration and continuous deployment also, there is one more tool called the Jenkins. So we will be learning Jenkins as a CI and CD tool. This is the most prominent and widely used tool in the industry. And apart from that, we will be learning the configuration management tool, because see, as I said in my example, there were 10 servers which we need to deploy. So to do,
I have a question.
yeah, please.
So, is it only Jenkins who support CI/CD?
No, sir, there are other tools also,
Okay.
like Circle CI is there. It is also one of the tools which is similar to Jenkins. There is Atlassian tool called Bamboo.
Mhm.
Even that does the same job. But Jenkins, it is the first CI/CD tool, and it is the most prominent and most widely used tool in the market.
Right.
It's an open source tool. The
Right.
Bamboo is a
And-
paid tool.
Sorry.
Like Bamboo is a paid tool. It's an Atlassian tool owned by Atlassian. Atlassian is a company. So like
Okay.
how it is owning the Bitbucket, similarly it's owning Bamboo also. So
Okay.
as I said, source control tool, there are a number of source control tool like Git, Bitbucket, and
Mhm.
many other. Like SVN was there. SVN is a older one. It's not uh, like not upgraded that much. So it was also a source control tool only. But in presently, Git and Bitbucket are the most prominent one. But Git is a open source and it's a paid tool also. If you want to use for private repos, you have to pay. So public repos you will get. It's a open source for public repos. So most of the developers, they will be, if they want to do something on their own, they will be committing their code in the Git itself.
Yeah.
Similarly, Jenkins also, it's a open source.
Right.
But
So any open source code like Java, JavaScript, Python,
yeah,
you can use Jenkins or Git, right?
yeah, you can use it. So actually,
And
in my as we go through the like course, I will explain you in the end like syllabus and what all the things we'll be learning in depth. Like I will discuss the syllabus in detail. So that time
sure.
will come to know.
Can you
Yeah,
can
tell
you
me.
please just go to the previous slide where you have the benefits of DevOps?
Yeah, it is just a. It's just a second. It's just like increases the efficiency. Yeah, you can go. Like uh, performance, mainly when it comes to the DevOps, DevOps is mainly related to the increasing the performance, increasing the productivity, increasing the deployment faster. Because all the tools which I will be discussing, they are mainly used for that purpose. Do you have any
Can
question?
Kubernetes also use for this purpose?
Yes, sir. I will come to Kubernetes. Actually, first we need to discuss about the Docker. Then we'll
Sure,
discuss
please
about
go
the
ahead.
Kubernetes. Sorry?
I said please continue.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, where I was, okay, Ansible. So So as I said, there were 10 servers, right? In our production, there are production servers are 10 servers. So deployment has to happen in all the servers at a time. So if you are like doing it manually, so it's a tedious job, because imagine if you want to, example, there are 10 servers. If you want to install Java in 10 servers, so what do we do? If it is a normal normal activity, like normal day-to-day life, or if it was, imagine there is no tool, that time you have to go to log into each server, you have to install Java manually. It takes a lot of time. So with the help of the Ansible, you need to there comes a concept of playbook. You need to write a playbook. It's a simple camel code. It's not a big thing. It's a very simple code. So if you write that and if you run in a host machine, so in a 10 servers, it will be installed automatically at the same time. So we used to write a Ansible playbook for deployment of the code. So whenever we used to give the build in a Jenkins, we used to integrate Jenkins and the Ansible. As I said, Jenkins is not just a CI tool; it's a CI and CD tool. So we used to give the build in a Jenkins. It used to deploy the code in all the 10 servers at a time. That's how powerful the Jenkins is and the Ansible is. So Ansible is mainly a configuration management tool. So there comes the next concept called containers. So as it was asked previously, Kubernetes. So we'll come to Docker first, then I will explain about Kubernetes. Actually, there is no necessity that you need to use the Docker. But Docker is important because Docker, as I said, it's a container tool, container management. Like imagine, as we used to, hope you have idea about VMs, right? So what used to happen in your, imagine in your laptop. So with the help of the VM, you can create with the same device, like a hard disk or the whatever the device, like secondary drive you have, the memory, you need to split the memory and use. So with the one machine, you can max with a configuration like 4 GB or 8 GB RAM with certain hard disk, you can create 2 to 3 VMs without any issues, because if you increase more, it will start lagging. So with the same resource like memory, you are creating the 2 VMs. So even it is a lighter one. Container, the Docker, it's a concept which was mainly built on this only, but they made it very lightweight. In your with the same memory what I have mentioned, you can launch a number of containers. Each will be using the same memory, but the environment will be entirely different. Each container will be very lightweight. So in every container, you can deploy or you can use it as an independent operating system with a specified memory. In one container, you can launch Java application on Windows. In another container, you can launch Java application on Ubuntu. In another container, you can launch using the OpenSUSE, whatnot. So this is how the container works. Container mainly it has been built on the concept of virtual machine, but it is more efficient and far efficient than the virtual machines. So imagine if in a server, as I said, if you are running 100 containers, managing the containers will be a difficult job. So what you will do that time? There need to be a tool which manage these containers, right? So there comes the concept of the Kubernetes, which is the orchestration tool. So Kubernetes helps in managing these tools like Docker containers efficiently. There comes a concept of pod, which helps in managing the Kubernetes, Docker containers efficiently. So you can deploy the code in containers also, or you can deploy the code in normal server also. So there is no necessity that you need to deploy in a container itself. But since now people are thinking more about cost effectiveness and utilization of the resources, so the concept of Docker is more in more in use. It is the containers will be like most of the companies, they'll be moving to the Docker, like a containerization. Instead of wasting the resources, they want to use the same resource or even the less resource more efficiently. That's why you need to learn the Docker and the Kubernetes. So hope your doubt has been clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask over this.
So we can use Kubernetes to efficiently use Dockers, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's an orchestration tool mainly. So if the container size increases, right? Example, so as I said, we are running our application in 10 servers. Imagine if you are running those things in a containers, if we are running the same code in a containers, so since the traffic increases, we need to increase the containers also, right? Because container size will be very less. The size of the container, memory it will be using is very less. Since the request increases, so one container can't handle so many requests, right? Because in normal day-to-day time, we used to book around 30 to 40K books, like bookings used to happen in our company. So 30 to 40K means it's a huge number of bookings. So imagine how much traffic will be there. That time, a few containers can't handle that much traffic, right? That time you need to increase the number of the containers. So that time managing the containers will be difficult, right? Imagine if some containers like over traffic or whatever the issue, if container goes, like it stops working. So that time, how will you identify in 100 containers which container is not working? So that time the Kubernetes plays a major role in managing that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So, any other doubts? Like anyone have any other doubts, or if you want to ask any questions, you can ask.
Hello. Hello. Shiva, are you
Yeah.
able to hear me?
Sorry.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I am able to hear you. Tell me.
Okay. So as you said, like Kubernetes plays an important role to manage the containers, right? So
Yeah.
if one container is heavily loaded, I mean, like it can't handle the traffic. So Kubernetes creates a new container by itself for what it does actually.
See, even that, even there comes a concept of that creation of the containers and okay.
Oh.
So it's a self-healing actually. Okay, it's a self-healing. So if imagine one container, if there in a pod, the actual pod is like a group of containers, we can say, in now as of now, roughly. So if one container dies, so it can create another for that. Okay, but Docker alone can't do that.
Oh, okay.
If it is only a Docker, imagine if you are instead of like you are not using the Kubernetes as of now. Imagine you are not using Kubernetes. You are running only the Docker containers. Okay. If one container dies, okay, if some issues happen, if more traffic, of course it won't work. So that time, if it is only a Docker, so you can't do. You have to do it manually. Like you have to do it by your own. If it is a Kubernetes, right? That's why it's called an orchestration tool. It's a self-healing. So if one container dies, it creates another container.
Okay. One more question adding to that is, like a Docker container is kind of a virtual machine, or what is it exactly? And what is it?
Exactly. You can say it's a virtual machine, but it's far more efficient than a virtual machine, because virtual machine, as I mentioned previously, so it requires a large amount of the memory, like you can say the hard disk and all. So it's a much Docker is a much lighter than the virtual machine. So it's also having its own independent environment. If you are, as I mentioned, so if you want to run a Java application in a Windows server, like you can just pull the Windows image in the container. You can run in that environment. Same code if you want to run, same application if you want to run in a Ubuntu or open like SUSE or CentOS, you can do that part also. So each container will be having its own independent environmental setup. It depends on you on which environment you want to run. You can pull that image into the container. You can build in that.
Okay. So each container has its own RAM and all that stuff, right? Or
in the same server, like imagine if you are using in your own laptop, it will be sharing the same memory.
Oh, okay.
It depends on the size of the container, right? See, if example, if you are running usually there is a two kinds of images. One is a full, like what if you are example, if you are pulling Ubuntu 18.1804, so it takes the full one image will be there, which will be having a full loaded setup, like all the dependencies, all the libraries will be there. There is one more image called the Alpine image. The normal image, if it is 500 MB, Alpine will be running in just 20 to 30 MB size, because it won't be having all the libraries which will be required for the OS. You need to install them manually. So in a previous case, if you pull the original image, the size of the container will be like, if you are running if you are putting your code, if you are running all the application, imagine the size of the OS is 500 MB plus you are running like another 200 MB in addition. The total size of the container will be 700 MB. If you are running an Alpine image, as I mentioned, Alpine image only it will be having the kernel of the operating system. So all the libraries won't be there. So size is 20 MB. And if your code and all the dependencies after which is required for your code, if it is 100 plus code is 100, imagine like code and all the dependencies, the total size of the container will be 120 to 130 MB. So it will be using the same server like your laptop, but it will be using the resources differently depending on their requirements.
Okay. But these are all installed in the cloud, right? I mean, like for example, AWS or Azure cloud services.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
These containers are installed in the virtual machines of AWS or Azure.
Yeah. You can run containers wherever you want. You can run on your own like standard, like in your laptop itself, or you can run in your servers also. It's mainly, I forgot to mention, it's mainly the platform independent. Like how you in Java, right? So if the basic JDK and JR, if it is installed, if the same Java code of your machine, if you run in my machine also, it will be working because it needs a JDK and JR.
Okay.
So similarly, if you install the Docker, so you can run the containers anywhere. The prerequisite is a Docker environment is required. So you can run the same containers anywhere on any platform.
Okay, sure. Thanks for the explanation. I got some pictures. I haven't has any idea on it. I'm just a Microsoft.NET developer, so that's why I'm
Sorry, can
asking
you
more questions.
speak little loudly? I can't able to hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Actually, I don't have any experience on this cloud services because I'm a Microsoft.NET developer.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I'm asking more questions on it.
Yeah, not an issue. See, in this standard course I mentioned, right? Actually, I was coming to that only. So we will be learning one cloud service provider like AWS,
Okay.
Amazon Web Service. That's also the part of this course. So we will be going from the scratch, from how to open an account in AWS, from there to launching an instance and various other services are there. We'll be covering all those things in the course only. No need to worry about that part, cloud part.
So what about Azure? Is it not included in this or something?
See, as I mentioned, there are a number of cloud service providers, right? One among them we have chosen is AWS because in the market, AWS has been widely used. Because if you go for a Gartner report, which is a report published by Gartner, where it mentions the market share of the cloud service providers. Among them, AWS holds almost 46 to 47% of the market. So most of the companies will be using AWS. So I'll be teaching on AWS. If you have any doubts on Azure, you can ask me. It's not an issue because even I work on Azure also.
Okay.
So I worked on almost most of the services on Azure. I can explain those things also. Not an issue for me.
Okay. One last question is like, as a Microsoft.NET developer, I can add AWS in my resume.
Yeah, you can add, right? If you see, so cloud service provider, there will be n numbers, right? You will be working on. Usually, you get a rare opportunity to work on multiple cloud service providers. But if you, as of now in market, AWS and Azure are the most prominent one. Google, it's not that prominent, but it's a third place. So if you are using like worked on AWS, right, it's an added advantage, not an issue. And the concept will be like keywords will be different, concept will be same on almost all the cloud service providers.
Okay, thank you.
So any other questions? Now feel free to ask, not an issue. So
not from my side.
Okay. Shall I move further?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Yeah. You can just have a look at this. Hope you might have seen this like from past 10 minutes. It's on the screen. This is a IBM DevOps setup. See here, there comes a developers. As I said, there is a one more like version controlling tool. They mentioned SCM code repository. We can mention Git here. So once the code has been stored in a version controlling tool or a source control tool. So the Jenkins is a tool which works on the plugins. If for everything you need to install a plugins in Jenkins. So it pulls the code from the source control tool and it builds. So you can see here, like even you can write that if you are using any tool for test purpose also there are plugins. If you install them, you can write a test scripts also. It will do the testing part also. So once everything is ready, it actually for DB is for a database thing. So and once everything is ready, it deploys them either in your server or in your container if you want. This is a Azure asking about the Azure. So it's a Azure frame, DevOps how it works in Azure. This is a DevOps practice what we usually do. So I hope I have covered all these things: continuous integration, testing, deployment, release management, performance monitoring, and load testing, and all these comes. It's a job of the DevOps engineer. He has to do all these things. Like after release, sometimes there will be issues in the code. So in production, if it is if something happens, he has to revert back to the previous branch, and he has to resolve the issues, and he has to redeploy it again, resolving the issue. And one more thing I want to mention, yesterday someone asked. So thing is, like, as a DevOps engineer, you no need to sit and write the code, but you should have the exposure how the things work. Like if it is a Java code, what all the things that is prerequisite necessary. If it's a Python code, what is the prerequisite, how the flow works, from where the program triggers. Like in Java, it's a main method where you will be writing. In Python, it's a app.py or a run.py. This is how it will be working. You should have that basic minimum knowledge, and you should know, okay, what are the things that are required for running a Python application, what are the things that is required for running a Java application. There is no need to write a code as a DevOps engineer, but you should have the scripting knowledge. That is shell scripting or bash scripting. So this is complete like management of, or you can say the architecture. Have a look at once. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. And one more thing, in my class, we'll be mainly working on Linux part. Windows servers, most of the companies won't use. So most of the companies use a Linux server. So learning Linux is very important. So in this course, we'll go through the Linux basics also, Linux commands. I will be taking some sessions on Linux also. So you should have a knowledge on Linux, how the Linux works, Linux commands, day to day, what all the commands that we'll be using the most. Even some basics of Linux architecture also we'll be doing. And my sessions will be usually, today it's first like introductory session, so it's a theoretical session. So sessions will be mostly 80% of the sessions will be practical, 20% just to give the introduction of that particular topic and its uses and all. It will be theoretical, 80% will be practical only. So one should have or create AWS account if you don't have. So it's a free only, no need to pay for that, but you should have a debit card or a credit card for that. So this is how the application. So as I mentioned, see, configuration management tool, I said Ansible. Similar to Ansible, there are other tools also. Chef is there, Puppet is there. Mostly used is Ansible. You should have the knowledge of any one of the tool. That's fine, because you can't learn all the tools. So even I don't know Chef also, because mainly I work on Ansible. If imagine if I am switching this company, going to next company, if they demand Puppet or Chef, I will tell I worked on Ansible. I have the exposure. So learning, it's a part of the job you have to do. So you need to learn and do. Similarly, actually here, containers will be using the Docker. Even Red Hat has that. OpenShift also have that. But we'll be learning the Docker because it's so widely used. Okay. So these are the tools like Jenkins only. There are other tools also, Circle CI, so many tools. So just I will run through the syllabus. So this is from the beginning. See, this is, as I mentioned, the Linux basics which I will be covering. Hope you guys have the syllabus. You can open in your laptop also. Otherwise, you can look at the screen. So I'll be in Linux. I'll be dealing with these things: Linux difference, file structure, commands, permission, filtering commands. So starting and stopping of the service, many other. So from the scratch, we'll be learning Linux. So it's an introduction to DevOps. We'll go to the tools like Git, and if in Git also from the scratch, all the tools will be learning from the scratch. No worries that you don't know the tool and all. So we'll go from the introduction of the tool to in depth of the tool. Jenkins. So Jenkins will be learning like how the Jenkins works, installation of the Jenkins, creating a job, building the deployment. Finally, as a DevOps engineer, you should also have the knowledge for securing the Jenkins, giving the access and all those things. And Ansible, you'll be learning the Ansible. So, and Docker. Docker will be like as someone has asked, like Docker and virtualization, what's the difference and all. We'll be dealing that in detail, including the architecture, how the Docker works and all, and the Docker hub where you can store your own images and all, and the custom image, how to build a custom image, your own image, and networking, Docker Compose, and major thing is like AWS. So from the day one, we'll be starting the AWS. Like in my, you won't be doing anything in your own computer. You will be doing everything on the cloud itself. So in AWS, we'll be learning like EC2, S3, EBS, load balancer, Enroll, database, and two other things I guess it has been missed here. VPC we will be doing. VPC like virtual private cloud, which is necessary, and even we'll be doing some other things also is there. I will explain the concept of subnets and all, which is required for the VPC. VPC, it's one of the service that will be required in AWS. So as I said, from the day one, so first I will start from the AWS and Git together. I will tell how to create AWS account, how to launch a EC2 machine, and we'll install all these things, Jenkins, Git, Docker, Ansible, everything in the cloud itself, so that there is no need to learn AWS separately. It will get hands-on from the day one itself. So by the end of the course, you will be proficient in handling the AWS. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Still 10 more minutes is there. So if you have any doubt on syllabus, or if you have doubt on any tool or any other things, including the job opportunities in market and all, you can ask. So feel free to ask.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Just some basic details like how many hours or like how many days the course will be?
Sorry.
How many days or how many hours will be the course, and what is the price?
So actually the course duration is mentioned, I guess. So if not mentioned, not an issue. Actually, it's we mentioned like 90 to 100 hours. So it might take up to 120 hours also. It depends on how the students take the things. If students are learning quickly, I can also move quickly. Otherwise, it might take some time. But it requires 100 to 120 hours is more than sufficient, I guess. So, because I can't run in a hurry if the students are not getting the points right. We need to sort out the things, like we need to clarify their doubts and all. So 100 to 120 hours is more than sufficient for this, because Jenkins is a completely UI tool. It's a kind of interesting tool also. There is you can learn Jenkins very quickly. Git, even though it's a UI command oriented thing, so for Git some might take time, and Ansible Docker is a completely command oriented, so there might be some that time is required for that part. So AWS and all, again, it's a UI based, it's a fun learning. So it will be like 100 to 120 hours max. Any other questions?
Nothing from my side.
Sorry?
Nothing from my side. I'm okay.
Okay. Does any other guys have any other questions?
You didn't answer about the cost or price.
I couldn't able to hear you. Can you speak little?
I'm asking about the price or cost details for this course.
That will be, hope the institute have mentioned that. You can talk to them.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know. We just got an email. We didn't get any details. We'll contact them.
I didn't get your point.
Okay, I'll contact the person. Thank you.
Related to the syllabus, technical issues, any other things related to syllabus, course, like topics, or if you want to ask anything related to that, you can ask. Cost and all, the institute guys will take care of that part.
Okay, okay. I understand.
So if you guys have any other questions, ask. Another 5 minutes is there. You can ask. Or if everything is clarified, we can end the session here itself.
Sir, do you have any question? Sirisa, unmute and talk.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, I don't have any experience, but I know what is AWS and Linux commands also.
Okay.
Sir, maybe I'm the course was taking to me 2-4.
Course?
Is there any problem with if I taking long?
See, thing is, first of all, if you search in Google with top trending jobs, top 5 trending jobs also will get DevOps, okay? And for DevOps, one more advantage with DevOps is like for other tools, like if you want to learn any other tools, like if you want to know Selenium, you should have the Java requirement, right? So you should know Java.
Yes, yes.
So there is no such prerequisites for this, and whatever the requirement that are there, we'll be doing that in a course itself. Because Linux, which is required, as I mentioned, most of the organization, they don't teach outside, they don't teach on Linux part, they skip that part. But Linux, it's a very necessary thing that is required in a day-to-day life of the DevOps engineer. So we'll be teaching that, and all the set of tools which I mentioned will be dealing those things. And for those tools, there is no prerequisite that you should have these knowledges and all. That is not necessary. And including the cloud service provider also, AWS, there is no, if you guys have zero knowledge also on these tools, you can get the required knowledge at the end of the course.
Yes, sir, but I already know about what is AWS and how can and EC2 mission, S3 server missions I know.
Okay.
But coming to Linux, I don't have any knowledge.
Yeah, no, that's not the issue. See, I will deal that thing from the scratch. As I mentioned, right? So if you don't have, imagine if you don't have knowledge on Linux also, what is Linux also, we will do that part also. So you can check this. You can see the screen. Linux, right? I mentioned Linux basics. From the Linux architecture, Linux file system, how the files will be in Linux. We'll be comparing that with most of the people will be using the Windows machine, right? So I will
Sir,
compare.
I only know the just Linux commands. That's it.
No,
Other that I
not
don't.
necessarily. Even if you don't have the knowledge also of Linux also, we will cover that. Because I will look from the scratch, I will do Linux commands, what commands for what purpose we will be using. Because if you have some knowledge on Linux commands, other might be not aware of those things also, right? We will be doing that thing also.
Thank you, sir.
So, any other questions?
No, sir, nothing from my side.
Okay.
Nothing from my side. Thank you.
Sorry?
Shirisha, do you
No from my side also.
Vijay?
No, I'm okay. I got the idea about what exactly the curriculum and the approach. Okay.
Okay, sir. We can conclude the session today. Thank you for joining all. You can reach me out on my numbers there in the syllabus. Kindly download the syllabus in the meeting itself. I kept in handouts. Kindly check in handouts. PDF file is there. Sanaari DevOps syllabus. Kindly download everyone. Are you able to see that file?
Yep.
Okay, you can download. Dinesh, are you able to download? Shirisha? Asim?
Have you attached it in email?
Really?
Sorry. Hello. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, I'm able to download.
Okay, guys. Have a nice day. If you have any doubt, contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. Thank you for joining today's session. We are ending the meeting now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.